The correct swallowing. I estimate 85% of people don't swallow correctly. Most people never move correctly from an infantile swallow to an adult swallow and suck inwards on their teeth whenever they swallow, incorrectly balancing the teeth, moving them inwards, which is a contributor to dental crowding and malocclusion. And this is a training video on helping people to swallow correctly. So, swallowing is one of the few actions that we take that starts as a conscious action that we initiate, and it continues as a subconscious action that we don't control. For the section within your mouth you control, the section in your throat you have no higher control over. It happens automatically. And for this process to happen, there are certain initiating points within the mouth that we are largely unaware of, that we activate, that initiates the swallow. Now, most people, the 85% of the population that swallow incorrectly, are still using the activation mechanism that infants use when suckling. And that is by placing the tongue largely or to some degree between the teeth, activating the buccinators or biting together, and sucking inwards as they swallow. But the activation is by a lateral spread of the tongue. The activation that's ideal, that we should do for a normal, correct or adult swallow, is by placing the tongue on the roof of the mouth and initiating the sensors on the roof of the mouth, the buttons, if you wish, on the roof of the mouth to initiate a swallow. Most people will have had one of those moments in their life when they've just been unable to swallow. Usually if you don't have any fluid in your mouth, this occurs, and you just can't set a swallow off. You can't initiate it. Well, by pushing up on the roof of the mouth with your tongue in the correct position, you can nearly always initiate a swallow if you know where to push. Now, the technique we'll show you first is how to do a cheesy swallow, following some simple principles. So, Diana, the most important thing with a cheesy swallow is having your tongue on the end spot, the tip of your tongue on the end spot, having your teeth together, and having your lips apart in a cheesy smile so that they don't do anything. So the first thing to say is go no. Go no, 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 no. No, 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 no. So that locates the tip of your tongue on what we refer to as the end point. The end point is a position just behind the upper front teeth. Just if these are the teeth, the end point is just here. And there's a little lump that's referred to as the incisive papilla. And the incisive papilla is where a nerve comes down between the two upper halves of the maxilla and spreads out to cover the front of the palate. And it's been suggested by people that pushing on the incisive papilla releases pheromones and encourages young infants to press in that point. Releases endorphins and encourages youngsters to push on that point. Now, so if you put your tongue just there on there, so you're not quite touching the teeth, the tongue should be touching that smooth bit of skin just between the teeth and the rough, almost fingerprint surface of the palate that actually extends all the way around and tickles a little bit when you touch it. And that's where the tongue should touch. So the feeling surface of the tongue should just be on the top, and it should be on the top of the roof of the mouth. You should then put your teeth together, and then doing a cheesy smile, try just pushing hard and swallowing. You see, you want to use your lips because you want to reciprocate the force of your tongue. Your tongue wants to come between your teeth, and the lips want to pull against that, so they're in balance. But you've got to try and resist that by just pushing on the roof of the mouth. Again, use your arm, push hard and swallow. Still, you've got a little bit of action in your cheeks. That's what we want to work on. We've got to change that, because at the moment you're sucking your teeth inwards. So if I draw a line between the tip of your chin and the tip of your nose, it's pulling your lips back from that line called the aesthetic line. So now, take a tiny sip of water, a tiny sip. Try and put it on the roof of your tongue. Hold it on your tongue. And now move your head around, feeling it running around, so that you can feel you're trapped a little bit of water. Now, level your head and swallow. Okay? Alright, you're still stuttering a little bit on that, because it's still hard to do. So as we're widening your upper dental arch, we're giving you more space. We're helping you to do this more comfortably. And as we've got 2-3 millimeters of extra space now, it's important that you start moving into the swallowing pattern so that you help us. You're not hindering us in what we're trying to achieve. That's very important, especially because I don't want you pulling this lip back here, because you'll damage the gums here as I push those front teeth forwards. Now, the art of doing that swallow is and do it in front of a mirror so you can check your tongue doesn't come between your teeth. When you're practicing. Now, once you've perfected that swallow, it's useful to learn how to do a sweep. And the sweep is when you hold your teeth together, you pull your tongue back, and you lift all the water up onto the top of your tongue. Because your tongue does a sort of wave action in your mouth. Literally like the peristalsis that runs all the way down through your gastrointestinal system, runs in a wave motion. So your tip of your tongue will drop down and lift up. But it's important to learn how to do a sweep. So with your teeth together and your lips at rest, do a sweep. And you'll notice you can then swallow because you lift the water up onto the roof of your mouth. Understood? Okay, so it's important to have the sweep action correctly. Now, once you've mastered the cheesy swallow, you need to move on to what we refer to the Mona Lisa swallow. And in the Mona Lisa swallow, above my hand, there should be no movement on your face. So it's exactly the same as a cheesy swallow, except you don't use any of your oral muscle, facial musculature. Your facial musculature is completely passive because it shouldn't be involved in a swallow. When you think of all the most beautiful people in the world, do they swallow like this? Or do they swallow like this? Ooh. They all swallow the first way. They all swallow with a completely balanced facial musculature so that there's no unbalance, of course unbalance in your teeth. But we know the teeth sit in a balance between the soft tissues, the lips and the cheeks and the tongue. Now, if we've got crooked teeth and we want them straight, we should really be thinking about affecting this balance. Particularly if we want them to stay straight after they've been straightened. Or I'm going to help you get them straight. But we want them to stay straight, and we want them to go straight easily. We don't want this to be a fight. We want this to be an easy path, as we would want. So we're going to try and swallow like this.